Most people don't need a detective board, red string, or secret recordings to sense when someone seems fake. Usually, it isn't one huge lie, it's a collection of tiny habits. Sometimes the person may not even mean harm. They may simply be trying too hard to be liked, admired, or included. But when someone's behavior feels more performed than genuine, people notice quickly. Today, we're looking at 20 little things that make someone come off as fake. To be clear, having one or two of these habits doesn't automatically make someone fake. What matters is whether the behavior becomes a repeated pattern that feels off. First, every compliment sounds like advertising copy. The issue isn't the compliment itself, it's that every compliment is exaggerated, fast, and vague. Second, agreeing with whoever is speaking. If someone's opinions keep changing with the most influential person in the room, people start wondering what they actually think. Third, borrowing someone else's opinion and presenting it as your own. Admitting where your ideas came from actually makes you seem more credible. Fourth, constant name dropping. If every story ends by connecting you to status or fame, it starts to feel like borrowed importance. Fifth, completely changing personality depending on who is present. When the switch happens too fast, people wonder which version is real. Sixth, laughing before the joke is even finished. People can often tell whether the laughter is for the joke or for the status. Seventh, pretending to listen while waiting for your turn to speak. Fake listening makes people feel like they're only the introduction to your next performance. Eighth, announcing every good deed. If kindness disappears when no one is watching, people wonder whether you care more about helping or about looking helpful. Ninth, being charming to powerful people and cold to everyone else. How someone treats people who can't benefit them often reveals their real character. 10th, only showing up when people are watching. Real trust is built by what someone still does when nobody is applauding. 11th, instantly liking whatever the other person likes. If every interest perfectly matches the person you want to impress, it feels less like curiosity and more like a bid for approval. 12th, humble bragging. If every conversation secretly proves you're superior, people start to feel the insincerity. 13th, acting like best friends after only 10 minutes. If a relationship is described as deep before it has any roots, it can feel more like emotional performance than real connection. 14th, making the same story more dramatic every time you tell it. If every story turns you into the bravest, smartest, most wounded, or most important person, people begin to doubt it. 15th, using other people's secrets as social currency. Trustworthy people don't need to expose someone else's vulnerability to prove their importance. 16th, praising someone publicly and criticizing them privately. If someone's public and private attitudes are always opposite, people start wondering what gets said after they leave. 17th, never being willing to say, "I don't know." Being able to say, "I'm not familiar with that. Could you explain?" often feels more confident and genuine. 18th, apologizing beautifully while repeating the same behavior. A real apology is not just good words. It's making a different choice next time. 19th, constantly thinking, "How will this make me look?" If every choice is about image, they may eventually forget which parts are real. 20th, always saying the right thing instead of the real thing. When every sentence sounds perfect but contains no vulnerability, people often feel distance. Of course, these habits don't necessarily mean someone is a bad person. A lot of behavior that looks fake actually comes from insecurity. Some people fear that if they aren't interesting enough, successful enough, or likable enough, no one will accept the real them. So they exaggerate, imitate, and create a version of themselves that seems easier to like. Performance may attract attention, but it rarely builds real trust. Being genuine does not mean saying every thought out loud without a filter. It simply means keeping your words, actions, and values reasonably aligned. You can say, "I don't know." You can disagree. You can give a simple but sincere compliment. You can also admit that you feel nervous, jealous, or deeply want to be liked. Because the people we trust most are usually not the perfect ones, but the ones who don't keep trying to prove who they are.